Okay, we have a review of the current understanding of the flight over human beings um, regulation. Okay, Part 107, Paragraph 39, Operation over human beings. No one may, the latest interpretation is you may not fly over any part of a human being, a hand, a foot, unless A, as you see, A, human being is directly participating in the operation. Uh, That doesn't mean uncles and aunts at a reunion. That means people that are actually doing something. Obviously, somebody manipulating the controls, a visual observer, a camera operator, something like that. B, human being is located under a covered structure or inside a stationary vehicle that can provide reasonable protection. Uh, Maybe depending on the weight of the aircraft, it may be a Mini 3, could be a nice stout umbrella, perhaps, but something that would provide reasonable protection from a falling aircraft. And C, of course, uh, the operation, if the operation meets the requirements of at least one of the operational categories, which we're going to talk about in subpart D. We're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, so that's a little sterner than we used to think, that maybe we could pass over people on the way to go to somewhere else, whatever. Nope, they're just saying over any part of the person. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but the FAA is cracking down on a lot of some of the shady stuff that's been going on. Of course, like everything else, you got to be annoying before anybody's going to report you. But still, I just want to be aware of that. That's the absolute requirement, is not over any part of a human being, unless A, B, or C. All right, let's go to the next page. There we go. Here's subpart D. So it refers to subpart D. So now operations over human beings. Here's the applicability in paragraph 100, 105 talks about the limitations on operations. So these are the list the categories here. Category 1 operation, you got to go to 107, 115, 107, 120 for category 2, 107, 125 for category 3, etc., etc. So I'm going to go through these one at a time. Right. Okay, so category 1. This is where we're at right now. Must not, if you're going to get permission to fly over a human being, you must be one of these categories. In this case, A weighs 0.55 pounds or less on takeoff throughout the duration of each operation. Under category 1, including everything that's on board. So if you add something to it, you have to weigh it when it's ready to take off. Does not contain exposed rotating parts that would lacerate humans' skin upon impact with a human being. Just a note here that above or over does not mean directly over. It depends. If you're moving at 10 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour, there's momentum that could carry the aircraft over. So if it hits a person, that's the category. If it hits a person, you are flying over that person. The wind, all kinds of things might cause the aircraft to not fall straight down. Of course not. B is a whole separate thing. B just says no person in a command may operate a small aircraft in sustained flight over open air assemblies unless it meets the requirements of 107 or 89 110 or 89 115, which are the two remote ID categories. 187 110 is all aircraft manufactured after 2021 have that internally. 89 115 is for, a home built, I guess. You would have to have a remote ID module to put on the aircraft. Either one. It's got to have one of those, both. Yeah, we just talked about that. According to the FAA, flight over human beings includes flight over any part of a human being. So we're not allowed to do this unless we're category 1, category 2, category 3, or category 4 aircraft. You have to qualify as those in order to do that. Now, there are some other exceptions as well. If you have a category 1 UAV, you may not operate over a moving vehicle with a human being in it. unless that aircraft and the vehicle are within or over a closed or restricted access site where any human being located inside the moving vehicle is within a closed restricted access site. And everybody in that access site, in other words, a movie set, right, is on notice that a small unmanned aircraft may fly over them. All right. So that's the requirement. Or if the aircraft is not within or over a closed or restricted access site, you may not fly over any part of the human aircraft. You may not fly over any part of the moving vehicle with a human being inside. To put it on another way, you may not fly over moving vehicles with a human being on or within the vehicle. So that's pretty clear. And the kind of questions that you might see, I'll put them both up there. Two questions that you probably saw in the written test, maybe not, but this is just as a review. Category 1 operations is 0.55 pounds or less. So that answer is wrong. It's 0.55 pounds or less. Category, or the second question is category 1 operation over moving vehicle with a human being inside may not fly directly over the vehicle unless it's in a closed restricted access site. Okay. Okay, category 2, flight over human beings. Again, just a reminder, can't beat it to death too much, but we're not allowed to fly over people. Any part of a person, the hand, the toes, according to this, the latest from the FAA, that's the rule. Unless, of course, it's directly participating in the aircraft or under close. Or C, if it meets the requirement of at least one of the operation categories of Section D. Section D reads just like we've already read it previously, but still. Operating requirements, category 2 operations, you have to look at 107, 125 to find out the details about that. That's what we're going to do right now. Whipping through this pretty quick, but it's the regulations are in plain language. So category 2 operations has to be listed on a declaration of compliance. DOC, Declaration of Compliance. This is something the manufacturer does. So to be a category 2 drone, the manufacturer makes that petition to the FAA, says, here's we fit into all those stipulations that you made for manufacturers to how to make a drone that would fit into category D. The FAA says, yes, we give you a declaration of compliance. In other words, you've complied with the regulation. So that the FAA does. Category 1, you do that. You make the declaration. No, you don't do a declaration, but you decide whether or not you're qualified, or if the aircraft's qualified to fly over people. This one, we're waiting for, we purchased the drone. It's already category 2, and it's labeled category 2. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So D is sort of labeled, it says right there, 3, labeled eligible to conduct category 2 operation. D says RPC may operate small unmanned aircraft in sustained flight unless the operation meets the requirements of 89110, which is the built-in remote ID, or 89115 is the module that you attach to the drone, which I doubt that you're going to be 115 for a category 2 drone because it's fairly recent. They've just started making drones in category 2. All right. So, got to be labeled, has to have a declaration of compliance. Category 2 operations, eligibility, other applicant requirements. A1, this is the stuff the manufacturer does. You don't really need to know this, but just be aware of the fact that it's all related to how heavy the aircraft is, tested under different speeds and different, there's a bunch of other stuff that's not listed in the regulation, but it's been provided to the manufacturer with some kind of a advisory circular that would help them to do that. So no rotating parts, just like everything, no safety defects. Must have a label. Again, it's been repeated in 107, 120. And this is some of the formulas, how the manufacturer, again, you don't need to know this, but it's possible to at least be, it's probably a good idea to be aware of it. Again, over people, that's to include the possibility of momentum, where the aircraft's flying at 20 miles an hour, and how far it's going to momentum is going to carry the aircraft before it hits somebody. So if you hit somebody, the FAA's, you've met the definition of flying over that person if you hit somebody, obviously. But you have to keep that aware. That's your responsibility, not the manufacturer. You're not allowed to fly over the people or the person unless you meet all the necessary requirements. And the drone the drone manufacturer is going to tell you how you can fly that aircraft. You may even say something like, you can't fly within 100 feet of somebody or over somebody to qualify as that operation. So there's lots of other things involved with it as well. But you just need to be aware. You purchase the aircraft, it's labeled Category 2, and that's how come it's Category 2. Okay, maximum impact speeds is the speeds I was talking about. The weight of the aircraft, if it's a 5 pound, if it's a 3 pound aircraft, Category 2, maximum speed would be 10 miles an hour. Yeah, right. That'd be down in here. Okay, so 107, 120, Category 2 operations, eligibility. Again, it just lists all the ones. No safety defects, declaration compliance, has a label. Doesn't need to get much further into it than that. Let's see what we have here. Oh, the 120 is continued over here. Have to have an operating instructions, components, system. So there's a lot more to it than just your standard Category 1 drone. Product support, defect conditions that may cause the aircraft to no longer meet the requirements. But there's a lot more to it. But that's the basic. Okay, let's see. Labeling for both Category 2 has to have labels affixed to the aircraft. Not by you, but by the manufacturer. You'd have to verify that. Okay. Closed restricted access. Okay, this one does have the possibility of flying over moving vehicles in a closed or restricted access site, like a movie set. But otherwise, you may not fly over that person. Over a moving vehicle, that is. So, a few of the questions. Again, you've already taken the test, but in case you haven't, what categories of operation require FAA accepted declaration of compliance? Category 2 and 3. 1 does not need one. 4 does not need one. We haven't gotten to that yet, but that's true. Okay, next. There we go. Who's responsible for making sure the aircraft is marked and listed? It is the person who submits the declaration of compliance. Does UAS equipped with ADS-B meet the requirement from it? No. That's a whole other section. Okay, we'll try to keep this short. It's Category 3, a lot of similarities, but there's a few differences, big differences. Still, FAAs may not fly over any part of a human being, period. But we're Category 3, as you can see. Let's see if I can get this to work here. Category 3. Oh, come on. That's not what I want. Yeah, Category 3 right there. Operations 107, 140. So, or I'm sorry, over here. Okay, so 125, 107, 125, Category 3 operations. The requirements. Requirements are the aircraft must be eligible. Again, the manufacturer decides that, so they put the declaration of compliance in. It's been approved, so they've done all that work. They labeled the aircraft Category 3 on the aircraft. So you buy the aircraft. If it doesn't say Category 3, then it's not a Category 3. So that's A. B, must not operate the small unmanned aircraft over open air assemblies of human beings. And B, may only operate the aircraft above human beings if operational meets one of the following conditions. Okay, so C is there's a 1 and a 2. The 1 says within a closed restricted access site. blah, blah, blah. We've already talked about that for category 2. Or 2, the aircraft does not maintain sustained flight unless the persons are part of the crew, specifically actually doing something, not aunts and uncles that you tell them that they're part of the crew. No, it's got to be somebody that's actually doing something there. Or they're located under covered structure, right? So category 3 may not fly over human beings unless it's compliance with 1 or 2. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Next slide, come on. And I'll have to stop this apparently. So the difference between category 2 and category 3, to eligible to fly category 3, not cause injury with 25 foot-pounds kinetic energy. So it's just a heavier aircraft possibility. Does not contain exposed parts, no safety defects, and there's more. And here's a whole list of things. Most of this stuff is, again, will be in the paperwork when you buy the drone. It will explain all this to you. But that's what they've done to get their declaration of compliance approved. They've proven that they've done all this stuff. So you'll receive paperwork telling you what components are required, any modifications, instructions how to change modes, product support, defects, conditions, some kind of a recall list, which they'll send you a list. Say, oh, this aircraft's no longer category 3. Send it back to the manufacturer, and maybe we'll pay for repairs, or maybe you just need to throw it away. Don't know. So there's a lot that you can read that yourself. Again, the regulations are plain language. Labeling, category 2 and 3, you've seen this slide before, got to be labeled. Okay, and the same, category 3, over a moving vehicle, must be over a closed, restricted access site. If it's not, you may not fly over that moving vehicle. Questions, which category of operation requires a DOC, category 2 and 3. What was required to conduct it. So you have these choices. Well, we haven't even talked about airworthiness certificate, but it's not that. It's got to have a label saying category 3. And standard remote identification fails during flight, land as soon as practicable. UAS aircraft, no. So mostly we've covered this. And again, may not fly over any part of a human being. That's the latest FAA interpretation of this rule. You can hear a lot of things on the internet saying otherwise, that you can pass over them if you're going somewhere else or doing whatever. They're just saying period. And that includes drift or momentum. And anytime if you hit somebody, if your aircraft falls out of the sky and hits somebody, then the FAA's interpretation of that is you flew over that person or some part of that person. So we're not allowed to do that, period, unless we meet one of the operational categories of Subpart D. So Subpart D, over human beings, then we go down there and we see category, let's see here, category 4 operations, 107, 140, simple, plain language, category for operations, pilot command. If you're using an aircraft that's already category 4, must operate it in a manner in accordance with all the operating limitations that apply. So this is the change. There's some of that in 2 and 3. There's some operation limitations that they give you, but now it's going to be pretty much the same as a regular manned aircraft, except it's unmanned. Cessna 150, 172, one engine, one set of wings. There are other redundancies, but if that engine quits, there's enough redundancies so that it's not going to fall straight down and crash and kill somebody. That's always possible if pilot error, I suppose. But It has enough redundancy to be safe. So these aircraft are going to be manufactured. They're going to go to the FAA. The manufacturer's going to go to the manufacturer, go to the FAA and say, "Here's what we've done. This is how we think this is safe." The FAA comes back and say, "Well, make these modifications, and then we'll approve this with an airworthiness certificate." Anyway, now if you have a Category 4 operation, 2 implies that you have it, and your remote ID, which is 110, 115. If it does not working, you may not fly over any people. But if it has that, you may fly over people, over human beings. Unrestricted. Okay, so B, to be eligible, have an airworthiness certificate under Part 21 of the chapter. Wow, you'd love to read that chapter. It's many, many pages. Many things have to be proven by the manufacturer. Must be operated in accordance to the operating limitations specified in the manual. Have maintenance and preventive maintenance, alteration and inspections kept track of, and so you can't just not a random thing where our Mini 3s, we don't, there's no inspections, nothing really required except it either flies or doesn't fly. Now there's a whole nother set of things we have to do. And this is a list of some of the requirements. Aircraft must be maintained, must be inspected. You must operate within certain limitations. Maintenance and alteration must be performed by somebody familiar with the aircraft manufacturer's instructions, not just the guy down the street. It's got to be maintain maintenance records for at least a year. Okay, so there's a lot to it. Okay, but we're presuming at this point we're talking about $100,000 aircraft. Probably there's none being manufactured, as far as I know, there's none being manufactured with an airworthiness certificate at this point. There may be some, but we're presuming that the pilot is not going to be doing all this stuff. You can't afford to do this kind of thing. So you'll be working for a company, and they'll buy this drone, and they'll send you to school so you learn all about it. So, but just be familiar with what's going on here. Redundancy is the name of the game for Category 4.